Hey everybody, welcome to Workforce Gaming. I am Brad, along with Doug.
Hi.
So, Doug has completely bought into the idea of episodic Hitman, and you're
Yes.
all about this, which is weird.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, normally I don't like. Normally I'm like kind of the I need to wait till the end of the season before I'm going to purchase anything. But this is like, I, I don't. I think the reason I sort of kind of wanted to try it because I never really tried a Hitman before, and I was like, well, I'm kind of curious, and the idea of it being sort of like Ground Zero, it's like, well, $10 for another Ground Zeroes, that seems kind of neat. So it was more like a test. It was kind of like when you buy an episode of Telltale game, you know what you're getting. Like
Yeah,
you would know it. So I still don't like that sort of episodic gaming where it's very story centric and it always ends on a huge cliffhanger. You have no idea what's going to happen. While this one is more like, because it's so gameplay centric, you're not really excited for. It's not like there's no cliffhangers. There's kind of like story teases of what's going to happen next episode, but the levels don't end on a huge cliffhanger. Like you complete your mission, you kill the guy, and then you go into like a debriefing. So it's not like a guy points a gun at your head and then it's like next time on Hitman. Um, so it kind of feels like it feels like more that I'm getting time getting 1/5 of a game. It feels like I'm getting I'm getting purchasing a fully contained game. That even like right now, if I stopped buying it, I would say that experience was absolutely worth $25. While with Walking Dead, if you only bought the first two episodes, you're like, well, that wasn't worth it. I don't know what's gonna happen next.
that
You
makes
only got
sense.
2/5 of it. You only got 2/5 of the story, and because the story in this one it's much lighter. Like there's a very clear story that's going on, but because it's lighter, it doesn't have that frustration of how to you know finishing up a cliffhanger, which
Yeah,
most if not every episode of game
yeah.
does.
You have more of a entertainment cliffhanger as opposed to an emotional cliffhanger, so to speak.
Yeah, it's kind of like waiting. I'm trying to think, like it'd actually be kind of like waiting for the sequel of the game. Like most games don't end on a cliffhanger, like they actually have like a conclusion.
Yeah,
You're like, okay, I can't wait for that next Ratchet and Clank. I can't wait for that next Dark Souls, that next or whatever. So it's more exciting for me to see what's next, as opposed to like feeling like I have to purchase the next thing, which I feel like they kind of like Walking Dead and those series. They really lock you into like you have to play episode one, and then you have to play episode two, and you have to play episode three. And this
yeah,
one, it kind of feels more, because they're so self-contained, that it doesn't. You don't feel that sort of stress of like having to buy it.
yeah. So I guess I like the idea of buying five individual small games as opposed to just that continuing story. I feel like that makes a lot of sense. So,
Yeah,
episode two, you just
yeah,
finished it up.
I did.
How does that compare with episode one? Is it different? Is it similar? What's going on with this? I haven't played any
Um,
of it, so yeah.
yeah. Episode two is probably the best video game level I've ever played.
I like when you just made those like sweeping generalization questions, and I really wish we did a video because every time you do one of those, like this is probably gameplay wise the best game I've ever played. You
Dude,
always have this like starry-eyed look into the corner of a room, just like this is
dude,
yeah.
it's because I really like but the thing is, like as I think about games like I played recently, like a lot of the things that games are doing now are the best thing like I've ever seen them do. Like this is the like Ratchet and Clank is the best looking game I've ever seen. Bloodborne
Agreed.
has the best gameplay of any game I've ever played.
Disagreed.
Yeah, you can disagree. That's fine. But that's I'm just saying. Like I really do feel like there's a lot of these games that Metal Gear Solid 5 has the best gameplay I've ever played. Does that help?
Possibly agree.
Okay, yeah, okay. At least
I
the best
mean,
controls.
it's probably up there.
But anyway, like the thing that makes this so cool is I think the first episode, when I talked about my review in episode one, which you can check out on our previous, we'll probably have a little link here.
We
Play
probably
it.
won't because we'll probably get lazy or forget we said this.
That's true too. Um, well, I think the first time I talked about Hitman, the thing I want to talk about the most is like it was really cool that they gave you a full building to explore, and I thought that was huge. Like one of the things I talked about is like, okay, you can go to every bathroom, you can go to every single closet, you can explore this building fully. So what they did that. So you now have this mansion that you can explore completely fully. There you can go to every room, go to everything, and then they set in a small town that you can also explore that has its own individual like rooms. There's an entire apartment building that you can go through that has like maybe 10 or 12 different individual rooms you can go into, And then there's also there's like a gelato shop, like an ice cream shop. There's like jewelry stores you can break into. There's a church. Um, there's a beach. There's like all these areas that you can explore, and it is absolutely mind blowing, like the amount of things you can do in this game, and just the size and the amount of places you can go. One of the things that people keep talking about, it is absolutely true, is like when you start that, you just walk. Like I just walked around for 1 or 2 hours. Like I didn't even like, I wasn't even thinking like, how do I kill this guy? I was just like literally just wandering around. And as you wander around, like you'll hear these different conversations. You'll sort of piece together like ways you can like kill your target. One of the good examples is this is not really a spoiler, but you're walking around. You go into a church and there's a woman giving a confession, and she's giving a confession because somebody died, and she's like, oh, now his body's sitting in the morgue. So you're like, well, I wonder what her story is. So you can follow her around to the morgue, and you realize why she's sad about that guy dying. But then it's probably a way to actually get into the mansion to kill the guy you need to kill. Some other ones might be like you walk into a kitchen and this guy's talking about like, oh, I got to get this soup to this guy. So you're like, well, maybe I can actually poison the soup. Or like, what do I want to do next? What do I want to do? And there's like all these like little opportunities that keep popping up, and you're sitting there trying to figure out, it's like, okay, how can I use this opportunity to my advantage? It actually, you really are thinking about it, like, how can I use this opportunity to my advantage to kill my target? And is this the way I want to do it? Because sometimes you'd be like, well, maybe I don't want to do it that way. Maybe I want to try my own way.
Are there benefits to doing it one way or the other? I mean, I know from the beta and from previous Hitman, the way I always do it, which is assault rifle and shoot lots of people,
That's
is
so
pretty
terrible.
frowned upon. So, like, in this case, like poisoning the soup or like whatever, is there benefits to one, or is it just purely a personal choice aspect?
I mean, it depends what you see as a benefit. There's a very like weird scoring system that I actually completely ignored the score. Like to me, the score didn't matter. It didn't matter if I did 100% of everything in the level. I just wanted to do the level my way, and then go back and maybe play it again and try something different. So it matters in that regard to your score, but no, there's no real advantage one way or the other. So it's kind of neat. It's kind of like it honestly reminded me like the first time I played Metal Gear Solid 5, and I realized like, oh, you can do all these different things to attack this base.
Yeah.
And it's the same way. So it's like all these ways to attack and kill this target, but it's just like, it is so crazy just walking around those areas and just exploring. It is so rich with exploration, which is a lot of fun. Like just like literally walking into town, like trying to like you'll like look around and make like you can break into certain rooms. You have to like make sure that nobody's watching you as you break into that room, or maybe you have to wear the proper costume. Like if I'm using a key card to swipe into this area, it doesn't make sense that I'm dressed as this character to swipe this key card, or are people going to be suspicious that I swipe this key card and walk through this door?
Man, this does not sound like a game for me.
Oh man,
Just
I
all
think
that
this.
like specific and detailed crap. Like no, like let me Metal Gear Solid 5 this, find a ladder and climb in a back window, shoot the guy and run away.
But you can do that. Like if you want to, you can do that. Like, well, what I did, like my first target was, I literally just did the thing where like I got like really high up to the like I scaled. I broke into his house. That was actually really unnerving. Um, the game is like the house is so well detailed. It's probably the most detailed house I think I've ever seen in a game. Like I'm saying, this is the most thing I've ever seen in a game before, because it really is. Like this game is legit groundbreaking. But it was really weird. Like I was dressed as a character where everybody would notice that I'm a bad guy, but like I was sneaking around, but it really felt like I was committing a home invasion. Like it was like there's like a part that I was playing. It's like, this is kind of unsettling. Like I am really sneaking in this guy's house to kill this guy, and it kind of plays like a Metal Gear Solid thing, and it's really cool because like you're sitting there like trying to like sneak around. You're playing it a lot. Like it's very similar to Metal Gear Solid when you're in a costume that doesn't really fit the environment. But
Yeah.
it's so neat when you finally do get a costume that works, and you can just like casually stroll through the area. You spent a lot of time sneaking through,
Huh.
and it's really cool. It's this balance of like these like really hardcore stealth mechanics that you're familiar with in Metal Gear Solid 5. Actually, this reminds me a lot of what Metal Gear Solid 4 was supposed to be. I think when Metal Gear Solid 4 was coming out, Kojima was this big thing like, oh, you can hide in crowds, you can go anywhere,
Yeah.
and it didn't really work out. But this one, it does. It's just, it's so exciting. It's so interesting, and it's this very well lived in world. And there's some stuff before I talked about in episode 1 that was kind of neat, like, oh, I don't want to tell you what's on the third floor of this building. This has a very cool section of the game. Actually, I guess this isn't a spoiler. The setup for the mission is you need to kill these two people and you destroy a virus that they're making. So you have to. So one of your missions actually is to break into that lab, but you have no idea where that lab is. So you have to go around like listen to people, try to figure out like, wait, there's a scientist over there. Like, what's he doing? Maybe if I follow him, he'll show me where the door to the lab is. Or maybe if I kill him, I can get his key card and then sneak in. But people know him in the lab, so who would know him? Um, it's just really really cool,
Ugh.
very very thinky game. It's so yeah. I mean, if you don't like thinky games, I
Nope.
guess not. Um,
Nope.
but I mean, at the same time, like I did all that sneaking around. I think how I killed one guy was I ended up just getting to a really high point, just shooting him and then running. Like it was
Yeah.
cool. It was cool though, because like it's like a really kind of exciting scene because like everybody knows you're there, and you just need to book it to like whatever the closest escape place is. And there's different locations you can escape from
Yep.
along around the island. But yeah, no, it's probably like one of my favorite games. Like if I was gonna do like I was like looking at my top 100 list because I was thinking about like wow, this game is just amazing. Where would I put on my top 100? And it's really high. I can't give you like an actual number where I put in my top 100, but it's really high. And it's just because it's a game that requires a lot of thinking. It feels like a big puzzle game, but it's a big puzzle game that's also plays like a really fun shooter. Um, yeah, I don't know, man. This
Hmm.
this is so good. This is so good. And right now, I think people are kind of hesitant, and people don't like the episodic model because they're thinking in their head, it's like, well, why would I pay $60 for 2/5 of the game? It's like right now, I only spent $25. That experience alone was worth $25. If I never bought another episode again, I
You'd
would
be
still
very
think that was
happy.
worth $25. Absolutely worth $25. I think everybody should at least try the game. I think there's too many things that it does are too groundbreaking to not to like just completely ignore it.
Hmm.
And it's
Maybe
super fun too.
yeah, I don't know. I keep thinking about it, but it doesn't seem like my kind of game. But maybe I should give it a shot. So I'm assuming, based on all that, you're planning on keep going through here. You're gonna finish this thing off.
Oh yeah, no, I'm buying every episode day one. And I was even thinking like, well, like what happens like a year from now when it's only like $20 for the whole thing? Would I feel like ripped off or something? It's like no, because right now the amount of money I paid for it is absolutely worth it. It's kind of like it actually kind of feels like Ratchet and Clank. Like Ratchet and Clank was like I got all that for $40, and right now I'm like I got all that for $25.
Yeah.
It feels like a deal. Like when the third level comes out, that game will probably be worth $35. When the fourth level comes out, that game is now worth $45. Like it's kind of like gradually well, like unlike Street Fighter, where like you spent 60 on a game that was probably worth $30.
We had this argument already, so I would not like to continue having that argument.
No, but yeah, but no, but what I'm saying, but that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying is
but
like
the
it's
content comes after you front end the purchase as opposed to this you spread out the purchase point.
yeah, exactly, and that's why it feels better, and it's like it's actually and it works really really well as an episodic game because some of the stuff I didn't mention because I actually don't really enjoy it. I just like going through level once or twice and then calling it a day. But there's a lot of things they do like where you're given new missions to kill the guy, but in very 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 specific ways. So maybe instead of starting the mission out where you start to begin with, which is in front of the mansion, you can start out inside the mansion, but you're dressed as a cook, and now your goal is to kill this guy with a very specific way of killing him. So it's like a puzzle that way. So like it encourages you to replay the levels a lot. It encourages you to explore the environment and try to figure out different ways to complete your mission. So a lot of
That's kind of cool.
replayability. It's like I described the last one. It's a lot like Ground Zeroes. It's a lot like Ground Zeroes in that regard.
So last thought I'm having here, and you keep saying this is spread out over a year. Is there any? Did you notice any evolving from the first episode? Like, are they changing anything? Like, because a lot of
Hmm.
times you see like going into DLC, going into sequels, a lot of that player feedback coming in. Is that coming in at all?
Oh
Or
yeah. Like absolutely. Like I played this from the beta. The graphics just look absolutely insane. I think the beta looked okay.
yeah,
Um,
very okay.
but now the game just looks absolutely gorgeous. It plays a lot. I felt like it's kind of weird because it's kind of like it's hard to be specific because there's just a lot of minor tweaks they made. But going from level one to level two, it clearly felt like this game had 6 more months or however many more months of work on it. So it looked better, it played better, it was a more interesting level. There was definitely a lot more opportunities. There's a lot more of everything, and it just felt much more refined. It's hard to point out exactly what it was, but it's kind of weird because it feels like there's so much detail in these individual levels that they feel like self-contained games and like the amount of work that goes into them. Like I think if you play a game like you play a lot of levels, you're like, oh man, that one level wasn't very good.
Yeah,
But in this one, because they can spend so much time on just like on these
one
single
level.
levels, like right now, I would say which one's better, level one or level two? I think level two is better, but level one is still an amazing, amazing level. So I feel like as long as they can keep that consistency going, if this game keeps like right now, I don't even see how it could get better, but I know it's going to get better because it is much better than it was in the beta, and it's a little bit better than episode 1. And it is like they are clearly taking player feedback, and there's a lot of stuff like the internet connection stuff I was talking about before. Apparently, a lot of people are having a lot less issues with that. It's still not great. I don't like the online stuff. I'm not going to disagree, but
At
to me
least they're working on it.
but to me I don't have those issues. So if you have those issues, then yeah, I can see why you wouldn't like this. But I think that regardless of those, if you're not looking at those internet disconnect issues, yeah, this game is just absolutely it's bonkers. It is literally jaw dropping, which is really strange because it's a game where you just walk around.
Yeah.
And I was surprised that like I was having like jaw dropping moments of things that just would seem like generally mundane in any other game. But when you see them here, you're like, I cannot believe how far and how deep I can get into this level. It's really neat. There's so many layers to it too. And there's a lot of really cool stuff I can't spoil. So like the cool aspects
Yeah.
of it, like the ways you can kill the guy, the way to get into you're trying to destroy the virus. You're like, what is this lab? Like, what do they mean by a lab? It's like, oh, well, that's what they mean by a lab.
Oh my.
Very cool stuff.
Nice.
Mhm.
Well, I'm assuming then in a few months we'll have Doug's review of episode 3
Yep,
of
of
Hitman.
course.
We'll just keep this going through. But thank you guys for listening. You can follow us on Twitter at Workforce Gaming. Subscribe to us here on YouTube or wherever else you happen to be listening at. And we will see you later.
Bye.